Sathyam Sivam Sundaram, Volume 3, Chapter 9, Delta of Delight. I am yours whether you like me or not. You are mine even if you hate me and keep away from me. Therefore, what need is there for impressing and attracting, exhibiting my love or compassion to win your adoration? I am in you, you are in me. There is no distance or distinction, he declared. You have come to your own home. This is your home, not mine. My home is your heart. Lucky are the seekers of love and light who get the privilege of seeing Baba, the perfect embodiment of being, awareness, bliss, Atma, witnessing his divinity, hearing his teachings of universal love, and on pursuit of absolute truth. Luckier still amongst them are those who implement his advice and even ever remain in consciousness of divinity pervading the entire manifestation. They consider this advent as a chance for their own adventure into heaven. They celebrate his birthday as their own. Charles Penn exclaimed, "Our Lord's birthday, 1965, was the year of my birth, for I came to know Baba that year. Now I am only 3 years of age," he wrote in 1968. The 43rd birthday was celebrated all over by groups of devotees in rejoicing and in thankfulness with a variety of programs dear to Baba. In Kakinada, they had bhajans for 42 days prior to the auspicious day. In other places, the celebrations included bhajans in hospital, jails, and homes for disabled and defective, mass feeding and giving of clothes, plays and entertainment items by children, discourses, musical recitals, special workshop, processions, Gita recitation contests, and a number of others spiritual items. Vedic schools, Sanskrit classes, Telugu lessons, libraries, service homes, eye treatment camps, sevadals, and study circles were inaugurated that day. Baba blessed them in their own places by various signs of his presence and sometimes by appearing in his own form for all to see. At Prashanti Nilayam, the conference of the office bearers of Satya Sai organization of Andhra Pradesh met on 21st and 22nd November, and so the atmosphere was full of consecrated faith. Everyone, he told the delegates, has three sources of power as an individual, as a shrine where God is installed, and as the Atma which God is himself. Hanuman once told his master Rama, "When I feel I am this body, you are my Lord. When I feel I am a jiva among many, impelled by the grace of the God, I am the reflection and you are the original. When I know I am the Atma, I am you and you are I." God walks along the road of truth. Man, his shadow, if he holds on to his feet, can safely traverse fire and water, dirt, hollow, and hell and reach truth. He told them that the organization was intended as an arena where they learn the value of cleansing the mind. Whether it is meditation that you are encouraging, bhajans that you are organizing, a discourse you are announcing, or clothes you are offering, or worship that you are conducting, the object to be achieved is cleansing the mind of the tarnish from cleansing the mind of the tarnish of egoism, greed, hatred, malice, lust, and envy. In place of all these, fill the mind with love. That is the sign of Sai devotee. During the discourse that Baba gave prior to hoisting the flag on his birthday, Baba spoke about devotees who develop and demonstrate fanatism when speaking about him or adoring him. "I have no wish to draw people towards me, away from worship of my other names and forms. Perhaps you guess from what you call the miracles that I am attracting and trying to attract you to me and me alone. They are not designed to demonstrate or publicize, they are spontaneous and confirmatory proofs of the divine, which can change the sky to earth and earth to sky. I am yours, whether you like me or not. You are mine, even if you hate me and keep away from me. Therefore, what need is there for impressing and attracting, exhibiting my love or compassion to win my adoration? I am in you, you are in me. There is no distance or distinction, he declared. You have come to your own home. This is your home, not mine. My home is your heart. The birthday celebration, which began virtually with the conference on the 21st, continued until 27th. Dr. V.K. Gokak said, if we want to see truth with a capital T, where can we see it and realize it except in Him? If we want to experience and realize beauty with a capital B, where else can we have it except in Him and through Him? He is goodness incarnate, showering succor on humanity and healing it in distress. He is love incarnate, love that fosters and protects even those who have not visualized His divinity and power. He has come to transform the rampant disorder of the present into a new world order for our guidance and benefaction. He has put on the robes of mortality. He bears on his Atlantean shoulders the burden of humanity. A dramatic instance of the succor and healing that Baba showered were noticed by over 20,000 people on the 23rd at a huge auditorium during the morning session. Baba was taken in procession from Nilayam to auditorium by devotees. They were students of the Vedic school reciting the invocatory hymns. There was bhajan parties. There was the beautifully caparisoned elephant, Sai Gita, intelligent, sensitive, and even one can venture to say devoted. Above all, there was mother of Baba, revered Ishwaramma by his side, for this was to commemorate the day of his incarnation. At the auditorium on the dais, Baba seated himself on the silver chair amidst the acclamation of the immense gathering. Then Baba graciously allowed some devotees to place few drops of consecrated oil on his head. They touched his feet, placed flowers on them. The mother who had won the gratitude of the world for ages placed the oil first, then few others followed. Begum Tahira Saeed, a Persian and Urdu poetess, M.S. Dikshit, a revered old devotee who had served Baba even in his previous body while he was at Shirdi, Rajmata at Jamnagar, Rajmata of Sirhohi, Dr. Gokak, and Indra Devi. While Indra Devi was placing few drops of oil on his hair with the flower dipped in the cup I was holding, Baba saw a certain Mrs. Anderson who had come from United States. She was a chronic invalid, unable to walk or use her lower limbs, being helped around by her husband in a wheelchair. As soon as she came to Prashanti Nilayam, she was admitted to the hospital so that she could be nursed there by professional hands. Baba presented her and all other ladies from beyond the sea saris on 22nd so that they could wear them on his birthday. He deputed some ladies to help this one to wrap it around her. On the 23rd, she was brought down from the hospital hill, allowed to watch the function from far end of the dais, where she sat on her inevitable wheelchair, which had become more or less a part of her anatomy. Baba turned to her and said, that lady in wheelchair will be happy if you take the cup to her, get a flower dipped by her in oil, which she can later be which she later be placed on my head. I was thrilled by this compassion, but there was more to follow before I could turn to the left and proceed towards her. The distance from silver chair of Baba to her wheelchair was over 40 feet. Baba stopped me and said, "Wait, I shall myself go to her." People were astonished when they saw Baba descend from the chair and proceed towards the invalid lady, with me holding the oil cup. Baba bent his head before me so that she could place a few drops of oil on his halo of glorious hair. The gathering was overwhelmed with grateful joy when they saw this spontaneous flood of divine mercy and the happy glow of ecstasy on the pale face of a foreign invalid. She applied the flower 3 times. 3 times Baba held her hand, saying, "Stand up," and she stood. The gathering was amazed with delight. "Come with me," Baba said, and she walked the 40 feet towards Silver Chair, keeping the pace with Baba. I was so overcome with joy that I ran towards the mic and announced to the entranced gathering that Mrs. Anderson, who had not walked for years, was cured of her illness, and she had risen from her wheelchair at the bidding of Baba and got her limbs back in perfect condition. Everyone was thrilled by this miracle of healing. Normal feet was birthday gift she received from Baba. Speaking on his birthday, Baba said children are born of 5 ordinary, unnoticed reasons. They are Nyaya Suputras, born in order to realize the value of some deposit that they had made with you in previous life, which you have misappropriated and misused. There are Runa Putras, those born in order to recover undischarged loans given by them to the man who has now come as a father. There are Suputras, those born as a consequence of the blessings of God, and they are Upeksha Putras. These are avatars with no sense of attachment towards the parent, kith, or kin, with no sense of obligation of them, with love and compassion for all. This was revelation of Baba's attitude towards parents, which has puzzled many, as different from the attitude of even Rama and Krishna. On December 4th, Baba left Prashanti Nilayam for Bangalore. He spent time about a month with devotees from America and other places, helping them in their spiritual exercises. He was in contact personally with the arrangements to open boys' college in premises of Vrindavan, where he stayed. On Christmas Day, he blessed the Christian devotees with gifts, and on Vaikuntha Ekadashi, which came 5 days later, he created Amrita, ambrosia, which he himself distributed to about 4,000 people who had gathered for bhajan. On New Year Day, he gave a discourse on spiritual resolutions one must make for the new year, and the practices and attribute one has to ring out with the old. January 13 saw him back at Prashanti Nilayam for Makra Sankranti, the day of Tropic of Capricorn, when the divine half of the year begins with the northward movement of the sun in the northern hemisphere. Baba said, "The sun journeys north from today, but be concerned more with your own journey from birth to death, and then again to birth from death, until you set yourself free, working out your sentence through good behavior." On 16th of January 69, Baba was at Rajamandari on Godavari River, a river dear to him since Shirdi days, on the first lap of a whirlwind tour of the coastal district of Andhra Pradesh. The Godavari flows near Shirdi, and it has saturated itself with the glory of the previous body of Baba and learned to love the name. Everyone who went to be blessed by Baba while in his previous abode at Dwarkamai in Shirdi used to take a bath in Godavari. Now, too, by some trick of divine dispensation, the east and west Godavari districts are studded thick with bhajan mandalis and seva smitis, heralding the new Sai era of devotion and dedication. Someone from the East Godavari district wrote to Baba, "There is no house here without your picture in the altar. There is no house that does not resound to the chanting of songs on your glory." And Baba replied to him, "Reserve your joy for something grander. My name and form will soon be found getting established everywhere. There will occupy every inch of the world." On the 17th and 18th, mammoth gathering assembled at Raja Mandari to hear discourses of Baba. Sri V.K. Rao, ICS, and Swami Karunya Nanda of Gautami Jiva Karunya Sangam spoke on the great good fortune of the present generation in being contemporaries of Baba. Baba spoke on the conquest of the mind as necessary for liberation from the world of change. Know the one. Attention must be concentrated on the one. Alterations of acceptance and rejections, affirmation and negation are but appearances on the one. Let nothing move you. Be still, be detached, be but a witness. The world is but a play enacted and directed by Him. Let your love and longing, desire and search be directed towards God. He asked them to give up inflammatory assertions, malicious talk, and angry negations. With the 26 letters of the English alphabet, all English books in existence are written, composed, and printed. The letters themselves are without attributes. They are neither good nor evil, but out of their combination in various ways are made either dull, insipid, trashy books or books with cosmic revelation of the highest order. So, too, the operations of the same mind can make or mar the career of a man here or hereafter. On the 18th, Baba visited Andhra paper mill and gave a discourse to the staff and labor, in which he emphasized the sacred partnership and mutual love and respect that must govern all dealings between them. That evening, Baba inaugurated a school named after him and ran as per his message and teachings. Baba felt great pity, such as God feels at rare intervals when he sat facing the children. He said the spacious mansion called Sanatan Dharma, erected with great toil and travail by the sages of the past to enable succeeding generations to live in peace and prosperity, is alas being condemned today as uninhabitable and fit only to be given up as dilapidated. The peace with those sages had envisaged as noticeable in the faces of these children, having no envy, no greed, no hatred in their hearts. When they grow up, the joy is turned into grief, and peace peters out into anxiety and fear. The elders have lost the art of regaining, retaining, or transmitting peace and joy. Children must grow up in the atmosphere of reverence, devotion, mutual service, and cooperation. Now they learn only copybook maxims, devoid of any sincere urge to put them into practice. Parents drink, gamble, scandalize others, and utter blatant lies in full hearing of these tender flowers. Do not sow hatred or contempt of any caste or class, faith or cult in the virgin mind of these fresh blossoms. Parents first, teachers next. playmates and companions later, and the leaders who command the allegiance of a community or region last have to be on the alert, constantly examining themselves whether they are fit examples for the children of the land. This school bears my name, so it has high responsibility. It should inspire all schools in this region to treat little children with love and care and fill the atmosphere with fragrance of divinity. Words that announce the advent of the new era of truth, virtue, peace, and love. For 5 days from the 20th, Baba moved on a merciful mission of love along the roads of the Delta and a few beyond, showering grace on nearly a million souls grasping anxiously to secure it. Visit to more than 100 villages and a score of towns has transformed the viewpoint of everyone whom he rewarded with a smile or a glance or a pat or a word, a gift of holy ash or a precious memento. Like the many canals that emanate from Dhaulasaram Anikat and takes the water to Godavari into a million field to confer the life and vigor to the crops, Baba went along the road on the bank of these small canals, taking with him the infinitely more sustaining water from heaven itself to grant immortality and infinite bliss. The Godavari of Grace, consisting of a caravan of over 20 cars, moved out of Rajamandri very early in the day. Tiding carried delight and exultation throughout the delta. For the darshan of Baba, listening to his enthralling discourse, and perhaps getting the rare chance of touching his feet are benedictions for which even the remotest villagers were pinning. Every yard of road was lined on both sides with men, women, children in their best clothes. The roads were swept clean miles ahead of every village. Designs were drawn with rice flour by devoted women inside the villages. Decorated sheds were put up so that Baba may ascend the dais underneath them and give darshan to the vast concourses that sat there during bhajans for hours in expectation of the golden moment. Festoons, flags, lines of green leaves were hung across the main roads. Hearts were beating faster this day in the hope of divine darshan. Sometimes elaborate and even costly arches of welcome were erected on the roads that lay through the towns or that led into them, the townsmen spending hours on the end to make the arches a picture of exquisite charm. Baba's car led the way. At Keshavaram, Baba directed the other cars to stay on the main road itself while he drove into the hamlet, for, as he said, there was not enough parking space there. The deltaic region utilizes every square foot of land for cultivation, and so open spaces are hard to find. Baba was received by most of the villages with the piping of primitive instruments, the blowing of long brass horns, and the vigorous beat of drums expressing folk delight. Baba moved slowly up the passage between the man and women, and ascending the dais, spoke a few words on Namasmarana, the efficacy of bhajan, and necessity of continuing it sincerely with deep faith. Then the car moved on to Palarthodu, a bigger place where all the cars could find space to drive in and halt. Here too Baba emphasized in a short speech the need for bhakti and shraddha, the two wings of the bird jnana, which flies towards realization of the reality. On the 21st, the caravan took another road, and every human habitation accessible by that road and its tributaries throbbed with delight. for he had chosen to bless them that day. The entire population of the countryside seemed to be ranged as never ending guard of honor for Baba. They shouted Jai when they espied the cars. Baba slowed down his car so that they may have darshan. His hand could be seen waving to them long after he had passed the place where they were standing. Halts were made often, and Baba condescended to open the door and stand on the footboard so that the surging masses could have better darshan, for only then they could imprint that portrait on of their heart for worship in silence of their altars. The delta is claimed as the granary of Andhra Pradesh, and it is full to the brim with populous villages barely a mile or two apart. Baba alighted at most of these on the way and even a little afar. Gumileru, Pinapale, Gangavaram, Pamaru, Narsapur, Rapupita, Rajupalam, Annaparthi, Kuthukulur, Someshwaram, and finally Sampara tobacco barn, rice mills, locks, and pump houses were the landmarks that raised their heads over the level green. At Sampara, the entire village was in the mood of Gokula, welcoming Gopala back home. As a matter of fact, this village has lived on Bhagavata for many years, since a great exponent of that ancient text on Bhakti, Sri Kadiyala Sitarama Shastri, kept the village conscious of his teaching and message for years through his heart-touching expositions. Baba stayed there for some hours and discourses on the practice of the constant presence of the God. He also sang few bhajans to arouse in them the ardor to glorify God. Then the party returned to Raja Mandri itself. On 22nd, the road led towards Thamarada and Pedapuram. At Pedapuram, Baba went to Challa Appa Rao, a devotee since many years, and there happened a miracle restoring him to health. He was bedridden since 3 years. His condition had worsened 8 months back, but says Dr. G. Kesava Rao, he relied solely on Baba and refused to take any medicine. He had acute anemia due to bleeding piles. His body was swollen. The hemoglobin percentage had gone down to as low as 30. Urination was affected. Many doctors and I advised blood transfusion and warned that his chances of survival without it were 100% nil. When some anxious friend approached Bhagawan to persuade him to restore to medicine, Bhagawan retorted, "Why? Do they not die, the people who take medicine?" Then he visited Pedapuram. Baba went to his house and sat by his bedside. Baba created a linga while seated there. He directed that it be bathed in water ceremonially with appropriate rites. The tirtha or consecrated water was to be given internally to the patient daily. Wonder of wonders, right? Dr. G. Kesava Rao. The patient was transformed the very moment into health. The swelling or edema completely disappeared. Evacuation and urination became normal. Bleeding stopped dramatically. Exhaustion was overcome. Within a month, he was quite refreshed, shining with new youthfulness. Appa Rao describes the blessing thus: "Before the visit of Baba, I was a corpse. After the visit, I was the victor over the death." After addressing public gathering, Baba laid foundation for a center for Satya Sai Seva Smriti at the village. He then moved on to Kotapadu and Medapadu, where he inaugurated a Satya Sai Mandir. Reaching Vadala Muru, he laid the foundation for Satya Sai Mandir and proceeded to Kotapeta, where Mammoth gathering engaged in bhajan was waiting since hours for darshan. The college campus was full of people who had trekked miles on foot or by car, cycle, omnibus, or country boat. Baba turned aside a mile and a half from the highway to bless devotees at Palivela. He reached Ambaji Peta, where too a big gathering brightened when he gave darshan and spoke few words of advice and exhortation. Emerging into the main road, the flood of divine compassion moved on towards Bandara Lanka, a famous center of weaving as a cottage industry. Here, the community of weavers, with great enthusiasm, heralded the arrival of Baba. They had put an imposing reception structure with arches and greeneries and flowers adjacent to the road itself. Baba lighted from the car to bless them and spoke few words of encouragement so that they may earn peace and understand the purpose of life. Then Baba motored to Amalapuram, where nearly 50,000 people had gathered to hear him and fill their eyes with his charm. Baba chided the person who made the welcome speech. Really, this conventional item on the program of public meetings has no bearing, for how can Baba, who is present everywhere at all time, be either welcomed or taken leave of? And the welcome speech was in English language. Baba said that the region with Amalapuram as the focal point was known geographically as Konasima Delta, but lovers of Bharatiya culture knew it as Veda Sima, the region which was the nursery of Vedic scholars and the academy where Vedic science and Vedic research was pursued with avidity by a generation of scholars. Why thrust on the ears of these simple people and the Pandits learned in ancient lore a language they do not know? He queried. On the 24th, Baba left Amalapuram very early for Manipalli. After visiting an aged devotee on his sick bed at Tatipakka, he moved on to Razole, where elaborate arrangements were made for a public address and a sizable gathering had assembled. After satisfying their thirst, Baba proceeded along the main road towards the next destination. While driving fast, Baba noticed a significant token of adoration hung across the road near a village which is barely mentioned in maps, Puatumatla. It was a thin festoon of a dozen mango leaves strung from one coconut tree to another, with a piece of paper pinned in the center, waving in the wind, with the word welcome inscribed on it by a hesitant hand. The car had gone on about 50 yards when he wanted it to stop and turn back to where that paper welcome called him. There were two old women standing there with garlands in their wrinkled hands. Baba opened the door so they could touch his feet, leaned forward so that they could put the garlands around his neck. He invited them to do so without fear. Here is your Swami, quite near you. Come on, garland me. That was the happiest moment of their lives, and Baba too appeared equally happy. One lady extended her hand and asked, Prashadam Swami. She wanted something to treasure from divine hands. Baba plucked some petals from the flowers of the garland they had offered and placed them in the hands of both and moved on. While driving on, Baba noticed two very old women tottering forward with the help of sticks held in their shaky hands. His divine pity flowed towards them. He asked the car to stop near them. When the car pulled up, he inquired where they were going to. They said in a quaking voices, "To see Sai Baba." Baba laughed and said, "I am Sai Baba, don't you know?" They thought someone was ridiculing them and they walked forward. The others in the car got down and persuaded them to retrace the few steps they had taken and have a good look. Baba created vibhuti for them, filled their hands with fruits, and told them to return home. Lakkavaram was reached soon, and after a mile or two, Baba turned into a sandy, fair weather road, a that was rambling wildly across the fallow waste into what appeared to be no man's land. The party wondered where Baba was leading them, but Baba told the nervous interrogators that there was a devotee in the village Kathimanda that lay a mile ahead. His wife had died and he had married again. He lost a number of children when they were quite little babies, a tragedy which the superstitious villagers ascribed to the machination of deceased wife's ghost. Baba allowed the next child to be born in the seventh month of pregnancy at Sathya Sai Hospital, Puttaparthi, so that she may be rid of the fear that was haunting her. And the son has grown now into a chubby boy of 3. Baba was going to that place in order to bless that boy and his parents. Returning to the main road, Baba proceeded to Kadali, a small village set in the midst of coconut trees. They had erected a dais and decorated it with sincere artistry. Baba addressed the peasants who had come in large number. He visited the house of the principal of Veda Shastra Pathshala, Prashanti Nilayam, an unrivalled reciter of Vedic hymns, a master of complicated style of rendering the Vedic syllables in the orthodox complex of permutation and combination, who recognized the divinity of Baba the day he first officiated at a Jagana he was asked to supervise at Prashanti Nilayam. Baba sent all the cars that were trailing behind him to move on and wait at the canal bank a few miles off, and he went to Shakhintipalli, to the house of Sri Rama Linga Raju, Minister of Religious Endowment in the government of Andhra Pradesh. The cars waited for full 4 hours, exiled from his presence, with ears attuned to the horn of Baba's car, so that they may catch the sign of his arrival to restore joy in their hearts. At midnight, Baba's car was spotted proceeding towards them. The caravan then returned to Rajamandari on Godavari. The 25th of January was a day of delight for the devotees of Rajamandari. Towards evening, about 300 of them boarded 3 motor launches and went over the Godavari with Baba to the sand dunes on one of the islands formed by Godavari when its water subsided after the monsoon flood, which makes the river one vast roar of raging waters. Baba sat on the sands surrounded by bhaktas. Bhajans were sung. Stars listened intently from above. Then Baba answered a few questions of sadhana put by some sadhakas, and while elaborating the direction he gave while quoting from Bhagavata, he drew forth from the heap of sand before him a golden idol of Krishna crawling as a child, with the ball of butter in his hand. Baba was at that time speaking of inner meaning of butter, the purity of intention attained after churning of sadhana, and of the theft of such butter committed by Krishna. The question then turned towards Shiva and linga symbol with ramification of conversation into various type of lingas, the earth principle linga, the water principle linga, the fire principle linga, the wind principle linga, and the sky principle linga. Then he spoke of the places sanctified by the installation of these lingas, and referring to the Akasha linga in a temple, he explained that the linga there hung in mid-air with no support. Devotees stared in awe, for they could not understand how this could happen and continue to happen. Baba explained that linga is of some ferrous material, and that two magnets, one on top of the underside of the roof and another fixed on the floor, exercise equal and opposite pulls on the linga, so that it remains in the center in mid air without support. Then he asked, "Do you desire to see it? I can dislodge it from the pull and bring it here." Saying so, he waved his hand, and lo, the egg shaped Ferris ball was in his hand. It was passed from one person to another until all had the feel of it and the thrill. Then Baba wrapped it in a kerchief and gave it to a young man to be kept with him. The entire group of 300 sat for dinner on the sands with Baba in their midst, joking and keeping everyone in best of spirits. It was about 11 at night when the launches returned to Rajamundry. The young man was shocked to find the Ferris Lingam gone. On the 26th, Baba addressed the Lion Club. "You are members of a club that bears a great name, the lion. The lion and the elephant are natural enemies according to poetic convention. There is a great lesson latent in this fact. The elephant wanders free and furious in the thick entanglements of the jungle. It is a symbol of the mind which rambles, goaded by wimp and appetite, but it surrenders before the superior skill and sinew of the lion. The lion is the intellect, the elephant is the mind. The intellect distinguishes between real and unreal, the transient and the eternal. When this winnowing is neglected, man moves from one illusion to another. If the intellect is sharpened and sublimated, peace and harmony will reveal the one basic reality behind all the apparent contradictions and confusion. So, mere compassion and passion to do service are not enough. They may even be dangerous if no inquiry is made into the causes of suffering and into the safest and the surest mean of alleviating the suffering. Baba advised. It must be understood that the root cause of suffering is due to lack of wisdom, which enables us to realize the indwelling unity amongst apparent diversity, and the safest and the surest mean of uprooting this sufferance is by removing ignorance, resulting in realization of the real. Baba then left the Godavari and began his return journey with the halt at Elluru, where office bearers of the various units of Satya Sai Seva organization met him and received his guidance and blessings. Leaving Elluru, he reached Godivada and addressed a gathering there. Resuming, he went to Vijayawada, into which the city trains and buses, cars, scooters, and cycles had brought thousands of people. On the 27th, he went on a short visit to Aurikipalli near Vijayawada, and from there he left for Madras after a hectic week of beneficence and benediction. Howard Moffat, an Australian sadhaka and writer, exalts in this strain. How inexplicably fortunate are we, the few, who have found here in physical form one who can say, as Christ said long ago, I am the way. This statement soon became a self evident truth for those who can accept it. We see in him qualities we have always associated with idea of divinity. Love and compassion flow from the heart, which hitherto has been no more than a dream. When in his company we are elevated to a golden world where the atmosphere vibrates with inner joy and all mundane things are forgotten or at least taken their correct place, well done down the scale of values. Only India, through ages past, has been able to provide a suitable land for the birth of avatars such as Rama, Krishna, and Satya Sai Baba. It is only in India that Buddha can be born to attain nirvana. The spiritual heart of India is the heart of the world. It is my spiritual heart as an American, for where it were not there, surely life would be a living death of ashes and despair, writes John Hislop. One fact is interesting and may be mentioned here since he has provoked many into very profitable line of thought. I shall quote the letter by one such inquirer, R. Gangapathi of the Khalki. Sri Aurobindo, who by the power of his integral yoga delved into cosmic mind, was suddenly absorbed in an intense awareness of the supramental light's descent into earth consciousness. On page 208 of the book Sri Aurobindo on Himself and the Mother, 1953 edition, it is said 24th November 1926 was the descent of Krishna into the physical. A power infallible shall lead the thought in earthly hearts, kindle the immortal's fire, even the multitude shall hear the voice. It is almost certain that the descent noted by Sri Aurobindo was the incarnation the previous day, November 23rd, 1926, of Sri Satya Sai Baba. John Hislop on Shivratri day prior to hosting of Prashanti flag by Baba said, what an amazing thing has come to happen. This slender body walking so gracefully amongst us, the charming personality exhibiting all the qualities of God, omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent, with boundless power to create, maintain, and destroy. Hislop's words meant more than he anticipated. For that evening, the unique Lingodbhava acquired still more unique importance that is beyond the power of words to describe. Shivratri, as Baba expounded that morning, means that man must transform by sadhana the Ratri into Shivam, the night of darkness and fear, doubt and delusion, into day of wisdom, courage, the certainty of faith and realization. Ratri means night, Shivam means auspiciousness, victory, triumph, the vigil that is prescribed for the festivals and the fast relate not to the eye or the stomach but to the senses, which have to be starved, and the intelligence that has to be alerted against complaisance and the tactics of casuists. The atmosphere of Prashanti Nilayam became vibrant with the flag carrying the symbol of ascendant sadhika who had overcome lust, anger, and hatred, who had broadened his love and universalized it, who had established himself in yoga and ascended through the various stages of sadhana, resulting in blossoming of the lotus in his heart, and thereby attained prakanti, higher illumination, prashanti, highest tranquility, and param jyoti, the highest splendor of realization, merging his image self into the universal self, conquering sleep, sloth, tamas, and the clamorous demand of the sense, rajas, winning the unshakable equipoise of the wise, sattva. The Vedic recital, the procession from mandir to the auditorium, the astonishing emanation of vibhuti from an empty pot to consecrate the silver idol of Shirdi Baba fill the area with fragrance and ecstasy, and the evening gathering of 25,000 people facing Shanti Vidhika, where Baba sat on the dais while bhajans were sung by devoted soul. These incredible experiences injected the atmosphere with vibrations of supreme purity. The lingam that had been growing in Baba's stomach since some days was to emerge in few minutes. Lingam means in which all things merge and out of which all things emerge. The absolute, the ultimate reality, Brahman or God, has no opposite, no polarities, no contradictions. So it represented by the most perfect mathematical symbol, the sphere. When the basic desire, ekoham bahushyam, I am one, let me become many, disturbs the perfect balance of the one, the sphere divides itself into two. We can get ellipsoid. The lingam is ellipsoid. The one Brahman has become Shiv Shakti, the primary, the polarity principle of positive and negative. Cars and buses were speeding up from Bangalore, Madras, Bombay, Hyderabad, and other places to reach Prashanti Nilayam in time for witnessing the emergence of Lingam from Brahman. And Baba was with each of them, for it was due to his grace that they were present in that sanctified atmosphere. We yearned long to witness the Shivratri festival, says Dr. A. Rangarao, the renowned ophthalmic physician and surgeon of Madras. He came in a car that gave continuous trouble. The engine got too hot every 10 miles. When the flag hoisting took place, they were at Ranipat, 250 miles off. When Vibhuti Abhishekam took place, he was at the border of Mysore, 180 miles off. 60 miles away from Puttaparthi, the car came to a dead halt. While the chauffeur was tickling with its entrails, says Dr. Ranga Rao, to our utter consternation, petrol got ignited. Big tongues of flames shot up. The poor fellow jumped off in the nick of time and saved himself. His clothes were on fire. He managed to scorch the flames. He threw some handful of sand from the road on the fire, calling out, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, and the miracle happened. The fire became extinct. The car was saved, though the tank was 3/4 full and it was on petrol. I went back to Chikbalapur by bus 12 miles and got a mechanic from the town. At 3:30 p.m., we were still at the place of the mysterious fire. Cars coming from Bangalore stopped and sympathized, and some even offered lift. But I said, no, we will be there to witness the Lingodbhava. You can move on. Baba will bring us to him. At 5:30 p.m., we were 50 miles off with that rickety car. I sat at the wheel. The mechanic sat in the dicky, shaking the pump wherever it stuck work. We raced and rushed. When we stood gasping at the lotus circle in front of Prashanti Nilayam, Baba was slowly proceeding from the Nilayam to the Shanti Vedika. While passing, Baba smiled at us and said, "Oh, you have come. Santosham, Santosham. Happy, very happy." With tears of gratitude welling from my eyes, I said within myself, Lord, while thousands of devotees were adoring you here, you heard our anguish. You quenched the fire and drove the car safely to bring us in time to witness your glory. Here is my heart, my life, my hope, my everything at your feet. Dr. S. Bhagavantham and Dr. Bhaskaram Nair, both Doctor of Science, one in physics and other in zoology, one the Vice Chancellor of two universities and the other the Director of Collegiate Education of a state studded with colleges, Kerala, spoke to the gathering on the avatar of the age. Dr. Bhagavatam spoke on the implication of Baba's statement, My life is my message. It has astounded me to see that though he has no wants, nor is he ever in need, he is so busy at Prashanti Nilayam or elsewhere at all times with the multitude of problems concerning the devotees. Not only does he expound Nishkama Karma, but he also practices it himself, setting the best example. Dr. Bhaskaran Nair confessed, My life has acquired a richness and a validity as a result of my surrendering to Baba's lotus feet. I still continue to be a student of science. I know where science has to walk warily and where it can walk in confidence. I cherish the culture of this land, which bowed to the might. Shivaji placed his empire at the feet of his Guru Ramadas. The Kerala monarch Marthananda Varma dedicated the entire kingdom at the altar of God installed at Trivandrum. Ashoka renounced war when his conscience was torn into shreds as he witnessed the blood, the fury, the falsehood, and the agony that war caused. And he ruled more than 20 years over a peaceful, prosperous empire even after publishing the fact of his having renounced the use of the army, publishing it on pillar and rock all over the land, from the Himalayas to Kaveri, from Kandahar to Kamarup. Today, where values are being lowered and the infection of wild excitement and depressing drugs is attacking youth in all countries, the traditional values of Sanatan Dharma has to be asserted, for they have perennial values. The advent of Bhagawan is positively significant in the history of the world. Baba spoke for about 40 minutes on the mind and its manifold tactics to confuse and confound, and how man has to discover the strategy by which he it can be controlled and made subservient to the intellect, thereby leading to the realization of the Atmic reality. Suddenly, the gushing stream of superb eloquence and supreme guidance was interrupted by gasp and guttling, premonition of the emergence of the lingam, which Baba endeavored to put down a little while. Then he signaled the bhajan to start and himself sat on the chair behind the table. No one heard the bhajan, though they were mechanically uttering the words in the tune allotted to them, for the crucial moment was fast approaching and no one in the gathering wanted to miss it. All senses were concentrating their efficiency on the eye so as not to miss the divine event. Baba was under floodlights, squirming, turning, twisting, sitting forward, leaning backward, sipping water, showing signs of exhaustion, all parts of amazing drama that he was now allowing these thousands to witness, so that they may stand witness in their own lives to the glory of being contemporaneous with Avatar. 50,000 eyes were focused on that serene mouth for over 15 long, laborious minutes. It has emerged in one leap, a blue shaft of light. Was it? No, it was blue lingam, oval shaped, oval sized gem, celebrated in the Shastras as especially sacred on account of the color and the size. It had fallen from his mouth into the cupped palm of Baba. He held the wonder in his hand, high in the light, to be seen better by the vast gathering, now in height of bliss. Baba continued sitting in the chair he would usually descend from the dais on the Shanti Vedika and move into the Nilyam, but he sat in the chair and remained motionless. We thought that another lingam may appear after a little while, but no, he was getting stiffer and motionless. The right hand was lying flat on the table, the left was erect, the elbow fixed on the table, fingers near the eye, the head was slightly inclined to the left, the thumb held apart, the ring finger and the little finger folded, and the other two straight up. Breathing was slow, it became slower. Who dare touch him? Who has the courage to draw his attention away from the place or mission on which he has gone? I was sitting on the left of the chair, and Dr. Bhagavantham and Dr. Bhaskaram Nair on the right. 5 minutes sped by. I suspected him to return from wherever he had gone, for this is a special occasion where anxious souls were getting alarmed. At no time previous that had he left his body on a transcorporeal journey when so many were looking on. But his compassion knew no limits of festivals or gatherings. When the devotee calls out in agony, he rushes to his side, whoever may be with him or whatever the work he is engaged in at that time. On that other occasions he had fallen on the floor, but this unusual posture amazed everyone. Anxiety was imprinted upon each face. After 20 minutes, I could restrain myself no more. I leaned towards him on my knees and in a subdued voice called Swami, Swami, as if he could come back when we called from where he had gone in response to the sincere yearning of someone in pain. His mission of Bhakta Rakshana knows no bound of class, creed, or nationality. He blesses whatever be the name by which he is called. 30 minutes, all eyes were now watching the face for the slightest sign of any moment. They prayed as never before. The fortitude of devotees was being transformed into nervousness. The hand was stiff, upright, the fingers did not jerk or come together. The angle of the head was the same since the past 50 minutes. On one or two from the bhajan party to the came on to the dais. A few began to weep here and there. Courage faltered before the onslaught of concern. 55 minutes. A slight movement of finger of the left hand. The hand came down. I broke into tears. His eyes opened. He saw. He smiled. Fear and doubt vanished shamefacedly from the gathering. Baba rose. The fateful minutes were over. Baba went into the Nilyam when some of us, including Dr. Bhagavantham, followed him. He said that he had gone on a Manasa Sanchara around the world. He went in order to give signs in every home or hall where Shivratri was celebrated that hour that Lord is here, that His grace is available in plenty for all who need it and pray for it with pure and sincere faith. He showers mercy and they become humble, wise, and victorious. What we were privileged to see that night was a sight of Baba journeying far and wide to confer peace, to foster the erring brood of wilful, peevish, half blind children into ways of justice, peace, love, and righteousness. He was converting the Ratri of Rajas and Tamas that was darkening the horizon of man into the Sivam, the splendor of love and joy. We saw two Udbhavas oncomings that day, the Lingodbhava and Premodbhava. Can this be true? The skeptic may ask. I can only give the answer which Baba gave to another such a question put to him by a celebrated skeptic, hailed by many as a redoubtable doubter. Baba told him, how can you understand me? Can a fish know the sky? It may see the reflection in water of the lightning flash, it may hear the echo of the rumbling thunder, but what can it know of the mysteries of the ethereal region being sunk in an element from which it cannot escape and survive? We are bound by Maya. How can we gauge the glory of one who controls Maya? Om Sai Ram. End of chapter 9.